UFC middleweight division has had 4 champions in the last 14 months. Featherweight has had 4 champions in 14 years. But the dominance of the current featherweight champion is in question heading towards UFC 298. Is Volkanovski too old? C. It is one of UFC's most ominous stats that male fighters over the age of 35 in the weight classes below 170 have never won any championship bout. And Volkanovski is over 35 now, getting caught by UFC game cover curse as well. But if we talk about only the featherweight division, the younger fighters here are 15-6 in featherweight championship bouts. However, in 5 of 6 instances where the older fighter won, the older fighter was Alexander Volkanovski. Still, his reign never looked in that much danger before. 27 years old, Ilia Topuria's confidence and hype is on another level. He is 14-0 undefeated entering into this fight, but he has already changed his Insta bio to 15-0 featherweight champion. Moreover, he has made a documentary film Road to the Title, which is scheduled to be released after his potential title victory and becoming the first ever Georgian-born Spanish UFC champion. In his last fight against always tough Josh Emmett, Topuria has proved that he is not gonna be tired if the fight goes past the 3rd round. He indeed is champion caliber and a great threat to Volkanovski, who also has extraordinary cardio which helps him break his opponent's faces in championship rounds. That's why, despite having doubts, people put money on Volkanovski rather than Topuria, making him the betting favorite, but with a very narrow margin. Will it be enough? We'll get the answer at UFC 298. But wait, is that all to watch in the whole event? No way. If you have plans to watch the event but don't know what fights are to be watched and what to be skipped, then here I am, the Indian accent guy, to tell you everything you need to know about UFC 298. So let's start from the beginning. There are 3 fights in the early prelims, 4 in the preliminary cards and 5 in the main card. Events start with a women flyweight bout where undeservingly ranked Andrea Lee, being on a 3-fight losing streak, will try to defend her number 15 spot against -205 favorite Miranda Maverick, who is 3-1 in his last 4 and coming off a good submission win over Priscilla Cachoeira. Second fight is a middleweight bout where Wal Woodburn, the guy who made his debut against Bo Nickel on short notice just to get knocked out in 38 seconds, will try to get his first win being a +220 underdog. His opponent is 9-2 Obama Elliott, is coming off a hard-fought victory in the latest season of Dana White's Contender Series. His goal is the same as well, to get a victory in the octagon and extend his winning streak to 6. Next fight is also the debut of another -194 favorite Dana White's Contender Series alumni, Danny Paulo, who is 7-0 undefeated and coming off an impressive first round knockout. Josh Quinlan is his opponent, who is 1-1 in the UFC and needs to take Paulo's O to get back into the win column. Now things get interesting with the start of the preliminary card. The first fight of the prelims will be the 3rd straight fight where a Dana White's Contender Series alumni will make his UFC debut. But here, this alumni Branson Ribeiro will not take on some underdog coming off a loss. Instead, he's taking on fellow debutant Zhang Mingyang, who is riding an extraordinary 9-fight win streak and is -160 favorite against him. Although Mingyang's overall record is 16 wins and 6 losses, the impressive thing is that all of his 16 wins came in the very first round. His last fight at Road to UFC Singapore was the first of his career wins, in which he had the longest time spent inside the cage, which was only 3 minutes and 57 seconds. His opponent Branson Ribeiro, with the record of 15 wins and 5 losses, has also finished all of his fights. Although not all of them finished in the very first round, his current 3-fight win streak is also a first round finish streak. So I'm sure we'll get to see an aesthetic finish at the start of the preliminary card. Although both are new faces for the UFC fans, trust me, this is not something you wanna miss. This is also a must-see fight as the road to UFC tournament winner 8-0 undefeated young bantamweight prospect Rinya Nakamura will make his third trip to the octagon as the massive and biggest favorite of this card against Carlos Vera, who is a short notice replacement because Nakamura's original opponent had pulled out. Plus 630 underdog Carlos Vera is 11-3 in his professional MMA career on a 4-fight win streak and coming off a loss to top 31 winner Brad Katona in the very first round of the season. After starting his UFC career as 3-1, Justin Tafa has now proved himself as a fighter to keep an eye on with his 3-fight finish streak, which helped him getting this opportunity to crack the heavyweight rankings. He has knocked out his opponents before the second minute of the first round in all 4 of his UFC wins. However, he still is the underdog in this fight against number 15 Marcos Rogerio de Lima, who is coming off his infamous 33-second flying knee KO from Derek Lewis. De Lima is a UFC veteran who is 10-7 in the UFC while 21-9 overall. He has never lost back-to-back fights, so it's definitely gonna be a tough one for New Zealander. Feature prelims is a top-ranked strawweight battle between number 3 Amanda Lemos and number 7 Mackenzie Dern. Lemos is one of the only few female fighters with knockout power in their punches. That's why, despite coming off his failed attempt to take the gold from Zhang Weili, she is still the favorite in this fight. She was scheduled to face Tatiana Suarez, however, Suarez withdrew from the fight for unknown reason and was replaced by Mackenzie Dern, who has only won 2 of her last 5 fights and coming off a knockout loss from Jessica Andrade. She is indeed a well-known and famous UFC fighter, but not for her fighting skills. Interestingly, she is more famous among the fans for her sexy body and Mackenzie Dern knew that she won't get another chance to crack the top 5 sooner. That's the reason she took this fight on short notice. If she pulls off the upset, proving her haters wrong, she will definitely find herself into the title contention. Main card starts with Anthony Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov, number 15 versus unranked, 4-fight win streak versus 4-fight finish streak. Anthony Hernandez earned his number 15 spot in the middleweight rankings with winning 5 out of his 7 UFC fights. Kopylov will try to do the same this weekend. He is still called the Russian Chase Hooper, so if he gets 5th straight finish this week, Chase Hooper will be called American Kopylov afterwards. But it would definitely not be an easy one against 2-1 favorite Anthony Hernandez. We have already made a detailed video on Roman Kopylov, so you can watch it if you want to after this video. It is an abuse that this fight kept that low under the card. It should have been at least the co-main event of a pay-per-view. Triple C Henry Cejudo decided to make a comeback after 3 years of his retirement and gave a tough fight to the divisional champ but lost via split controversial decision. That loss would have meant the end of his career, but it didn't end because he got this fight against Merab Dvalishvili as a title contender fight, which if he wins, he gets the title shot once again. Same for Merab Dvalishvili, who is on a 9-fight win streak, coming off a great upset win over Peter Yan and entering the fight as -198 favorite. He has already done enough to get a title shot, but UFC politics came in his way and matched him against the former champ and gave his title shot to Marlon Vera just to sell more PPVs. Stakes are high in this fight as we all know that it's Cejudo's last chance to get another title shot, and if he loses, he is gonna retire once again. 13-0 undefeated and number 10 ranked Garry is currently on a 6-fight win streak in the UFC. His arrogance has made him one of the most hated fighters in the UFC, but we know haters also watch his fight, so why should he give an F? This week, he is going to fight number 8 ranked divisional gatekeeper Geoff Neal, who has 2 wins and 3 losses in his last 5 fights. Neal is coming off a hard-fought loss to Shavkat Rakhmonov, but before that, he earned a performance bonus by knocking out Vicente Luque. Both fighters are highly touted, so we can expect an amazing fight. Garry has demanded to headline UFC Dublin, and the wish was granted by Dana White with the condition that he must go through plus 200 underdog Geoff Neal this weekend. You hate him or not, if he wins this fight, he is headlining the Dublin card as one of the biggest UFC stars. Prior to the title fight, Costa was undefeated as 13-0, having finished his first 12 fights. But after that loss to Adesanya, everything changed. He couldn't make weight in his next fight against Marvin Vettori and still lost, giving the memers a lot of content. Although now he's back in the win column with a unanimous decision win over Luke Rockhold, missing weight and pulling out from many of his fights has made him a joke for memers. He is no longer considered the powerhouse Costa, but only a Twitter warrior who no one believes can beat Robert Whittaker. Current champion Ricus du Plessis has beaten every fighter he has ever faced except for Gareth McLellan. Paulo Costa stopped McLellan in 77 seconds in his UFC debut. But as I told you, we haven't seen that power for a long time, so it's still a hard pill to swallow that he really is fighting Robert Whittaker, who is coming off an upset loss to Ricus du Plessis. Despite coming off a loss, he is minus 205 favorite against Costa because people know that it's not Whittaker who has less talent, but it's DDP who is far superior fighter than everybody thought. Whittaker is one of the nicest dudes in the UFC, but his mentality coming into this fight is dangerous. He looks hungrier than ever to get his hands on the middleweight gold. The winner of this fight will definitely throw his name into the title contention. Now finally, let's talk about the main event. Wait, haven't we already discussed it at the very start of the video? Yes, we did. So that's all. Nothing more. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and then do whatever you want.